Hi everyone, welcome back to Write Better Together with Peggyann Kennedy. Today joining us we have a very special guest. His name is Tony Scardino. Did I pronounce that
Hello.
correctly?
Yes.
Cool. And I'm so happy to have you on with us. And Tony Scardino has served in the military like me, but he served way longer, 12 years in the U.S. Marine Corps, which I'm completely in awe of that. And he is also a published author of the Ark Lineage, which I've just started reading it, but it is really good and I highly recommend it. So, Tony, would you mind telling us a little bit about your experiences in the military?
Sure,
Or,
Peggy. Thank you so much for that introduction. Thank you for having me on, Peggy. And this is really cool. I'm excited to be here. My name's Tony Scardino. Like you said, I served 12 years in the Marine Corps. I enlisted as a rifleman prior to 9/11. And then when 9/11 happened, that just kind of cemented my resolve because I was already in the delayed entry program. And I went in as an infantryman. I took part in the push up to Baghdad in 2003. My unit was then involved in the battle for Fallujah, the following deployment, while I was a pig in the sniper platoon. Um, and then we deployed a third time in between Ramadi and Fallujah. And I was a scout sniper hog at that time. And then I was able to go to the Marine Special Operations Command and help them establish their advanced sniper and special reconnaissance course, while also being allowed to attend the first ever individual training course. And getting other schools under my belt and other really fun training under my belt, like dive school and jump school, and numerous shooting packages that you can imagine. And I had the opportunity to go over to England and work with the British SAS and SRR, and learn close target reconnaissance and surveillance as part of the advanced sniper and special reconnaissance package. And then I was trying out for a more elite unit in the Northern Virginia, Southern Maryland area when I blew out both of my knees. And
sorry.
no, it's okay. But you're only allowed one opportunity at this selection. And I'd already had three knee surgeries in my left knee prior to going to that selection. And so I knew what it was like to blow out your knee. So when it happened on the obstacle course, jumping from one obstacle to another, I made a conscious decision, knowing that I only had one opportunity at this, to just keep pushing. And a few weeks later, I was running down the side of a mountain and stepped in some soft sand that was way softer than it seemed or looked. I think it was actually like a fox den, like a burrow. And my right foot went into it and it blew out my right knee. I just tumbled down the hill with my rucksack on. But again, you're only allowed one opportunity this selection, so I kept going. And I just wasn't able to complete the long walk in the time frame that they were looking for. So when I returned to my unit, I had my fourth knee surgery and was pending another knee surgery when they did a MRI workup on my upper body and noticed labral tears in each of my shoulders and cracked discs in my spine. And that was about the time when the medical officer informed me that I had the body of a 80-year-old banker living the life of a 20-year-old running back.
Oh my goodness.
And that I was more of a liability than an asset at that point. So I was non-deployable, non-promotable, and for someone who at, lived for the next mission, that was crushing. And I slipped into a deep depression, and and finally sought help and told the truth and was medically retired. And that, like, the combination of my combat experiences and my physical limitations were just enough to usher in a new phase of life.
I'm so sorry to hear that. It sounds incredibly painful.
It's
I'm so,
okay. In the moment, it sucks, but everything happens for a reason. It definitely led to an odyssey of rediscovery that was needed, and I feel like I'm in a better place now than I was when I left, and a way better place now than I was where I left, and that's all that matters.
that's true. God can really bring good out of every situation.
Yes, he
That's
can.
one thing I've always clung to, even in my own service. But
Hmm.
would you mind if I asked a little bit about what inspired you to start writing?
Yeah, I've always wanted to write. I wanted to be a writer out of high school, but I never had the confidence to I never had the confidence in my own stories, so I wanted to experience life, So I mean, I needed an adventure. I needed to find my voice, and I wasn't going to do that at home. So I sought it out in the military, and it kind of helped form my writing and kind of mold it and helped it grow. But I still was self conscious, even after I got out with all my experiences. I was like, even with a degree, I had a degree in international relations, and I'd always loved to write, but I wasn't formally trained. So I was like, I can't write a book, and then steadily, like this something just kept chipping away at my ego to the point to where like it was just like a thorn in the back of my mind. Like I just had to write a book, whether it was fiction, whether it was like a biography. Like I just had to write something. So I started kind of dabbling in books to like learn how to, since I wasn't formally trained. It's like, okay, how do you write a book? So like I ordered a few books online, and they were intense. It was like 3 steps to write a book, and it's like the steps were like this thick a piece, and it's like, dude, it made me even more confused. And then I stumbled on, and then I was just sitting at home and I stumbled upon the novel writing roadmap on the internet. And it was like broke it down into like 14 bite-sized steps. And I was just like, okay, I can like follow these wickets and like do this. So I just started doing it, and the story started growing and it started developing. And I mean, I've always created, but I never really had a roadmap to create on until that. And once I had that, it was kind of like put everything into motion and gave me the traction I needed to really like not just write, but write with purpose, a goal in mind, and like have a set outcome from it. And that's how it happened, kind of. But I've always been inspired by music. Oddly enough, like I always overseas, like dudes would make fun of me because I would just like, well, they'd all be playing cards and hanging out together. I'd just be off on my own, decompressing, just like wandering the wastes, so to speak, listening to my headphones and just trying to like allow everything that I'd experienced like process through me. But these stories started growing in my mind's eye, inspired by my experiences and kind of brought to life by these music sequences. And steadily these sequences would develop into multi-song scenes, and that entire stories would grow from.
Oh,
Yeah, and Ark Lineage is one such thing. And I just remember eventually reaching the point where I'd been doing a lot of praying. I've been doing a lot of soul searching. I'd been doing a lot of shadow work, trying to just like be content with where I was and what I had. And it put me in a position to where I realized that I didn't need a degree to write. And I just like all of a sudden had this epiphany that I realized based off of my experiences and the adventures that I actively and consciously sought out in my youth to develop that, I realized I've already got a PhD in life experience and violence to a degree. So I'm going to write what I know and my voice and be unapologetic about it.
I really do love that. That's true. They always say write what you know,
Mm,
use your experiences. You've done that. So, would you mind telling us a little bit about your writing process? Like, how you write? Do you have to plan everything out, or do you kind of fly by the seat of your pants like I usually do?
yeah. So I'd say that it's ordered chaos. I have a system of ordered chaos where I have like kind of big wickets that I try and hit, but within those wickets, it's kind of a free for all. Like
Okay.
stuff is growing at its own pace without any linear direction at times in my process. And what I mean by that is like ideas may come to me from music and my own experiences, and like so that will balloon into like a sequence of like 3 or 5 scenes, and then I think, okay, well, how did they get there? And then like I kind of back plan from where they are to like unravel the story backwards, and then fill it in forward again. It's so it's very non-linear. That is my creative process is, and it definitely has seasons. It ebbs and flows. It bursts and blows up. There'll be weeks where I'll just be in the zone, able to type for hours a day, just like zoned in, 8 hours, just nothing but beating the keys. And there'll be other weeks where it's just like there's nothing in my mind. Like, even if I'm trying
Yes.
to imagine scenes, it just eludes me. And it's almost like my subconscious is doing the work because weeks later, the solution will present itself. It will just appear in my mind's eye, and I'll be like, "Oh, there it is. Okay, that's how it connects." And I'll go back to it and fill it in, and connect the pieces. And so it's there's a linear intent, but it's broken down into steps that are very asymmetrical and unconventional.
I like it. It's
Yeah.
everyone writes in a different way at a different pace, and
Yeah.
sometimes you do have to write another scene if you can't work on the very beginning or something.
Hmm.
That's
Hmm.
what I have to do sometimes. I like that.
Yeah.
On the back of your cover, it says that you're interested in history and myth. I was
Hmm.
really curious about that. What got you interested in both, and what your favorite kind of time of history is? All of that. Your favorite
Ooh.
mythologies.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, we're peeling back the layers here. Okay. I I don't know why, but I have always viewed archaeology, the archaeology that we see through a different lens than the history that we're told. It just doesn't seem to jive. I feel like our history. I mean, I'm not saying we didn't create the pyramids. We did. Like, I'm not saying aliens did. Like came to Earth and did everything. But I think that our history is a lot more complex and amazing than we imagine. You know, the same as our universe. I think our universe is probably more abstract and wacky than our greatest scientific minds would like to admit. You know, I mean, there's just certain things that we can't know in history and reality, and people want to assert their known knowledge on the subject. And I don't know, I've just always kind of not seen through it, but seen it as a facade. Because I can't look at monuments like the Yonaguni Monument or the Bimini Road or Sacsayhuaman and not see that there was probably an ancient chapter of our history that we've forgotten about. You know, and it just fascinates the heck out of me. And I think that there's a little truth in our myths. You know, I think that there may be a bit of reality, again, that we can't see that is real in our universe that we associate or have associated with myth in the past. And yeah, yeah, I can't not see the bigger picture when I'm looking at those bigger topics. To me, I've always looked at the Sphinx, for example, and the body compared to the head has always just flabbergasted me. Like, why? Like, it's obviously different, and people are like, "Oh, it was just designed later," and it's like, no, like that's a totally different body, and it's got completely different erosion patterns on it than that. You know what I mean? So it's like, to me, it looks like the head was lopped off, you know, and I don't know, and was recreated. But like that just points to a deeper chapter in our history. I just think academia is too shallow. I just feel like it's always been too shallow and too superficial, and the story's more of an iceberg, you know, and like they just want us to believe that the tip's all that's there, and it doesn't seem to be the case in a lot of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like you said, we honestly cannot know everything. People
Hmm.
want to, but we just cannot.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
is there a particular mythology you're more interested in, or do you kind of like them all?
Uh, I find it fascinating that in a time that historians say distance was too great for ancient communities to come together, I find it fascinating that they all kind of have the same founding myths of floods, of people surviving floods, of these people, these beings with technology that come and kind of like help usher in an age of humanity or just like bring them out of the muck and the ashes, whether it's in Greece and the Aegean or in South America and Peru. You know, like these things are kind of worldwide and they shouldn't be linked, but they all have the same kind of founding stories.
As
So
a
that,
Christian, as a Christian, you know kind of what I think about that.
yeah,
Like, ultimately, there was a true narrative, something that really happened.
yeah,
God himself and Adam and Eve. I kind of feel like it had something to do with like the division after the Tower of Babel, and maybe
mm-hmm,
some stories got crossed, kind of like that phone game, the confusion of it all.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But anyway,
But it all points to a story that's far more elaborate and planet spanning, like I mean, like solar system spanning than science wants us to believe. You know
mm,
what I mean? The modern academia wants us to believe. But yeah, like the evidence doesn't point. I don't know. To me, the evidence just points, like you say, to something greater. Like, yeah.
yes. So, I think also in your in your author bio, you mentioned something about going to the military university. What
Yeah,
was
so
it?
so while I was with Marine Special Operations Command after ITC, I was able to go through Urdu training for a year. And then while I was in Urdu training, I also worked on my bachelor's degree in international relations. So I went to American Military University online and completed my degree while I was working on my languages.
Wow. What was that like? I imagine that was difficult to do while you're working and being in the military.
It was, but the good thing was that the language training made it to where that was my job. I couldn't really be taken out of the language training and go to another school, or like my unit wanted me to do that. So that was like where I was supposed to be, and it gave me over a year to be able to chip away at it. So it was time consuming for sure, but it was a good use of my time just to get it under my belt.
Okay. I kind of wanted to go to school when I was in the Navy, but we
Mm.
went underway every 6 months. So
Yeah,
that's,
that's hard.
I just, a couple people did it. Maybe they took a class here and there, but I just could not. I
Yeah,
needed,
no,
I needed to rest and recuperate when I was off duty.
that's real. And I mean, I'll be the first to admit, I mean, didn't do it while I was in a deployable status. You know, I did it while I was in like a student status. It was very a unique situation that I just kind of capitalized on, and it was towards the end of my career too. It was like after my 8 year mark. So it wasn't, yeah, I was just in a different place.
Okay.
Yeah.
That, that's really fascinating, though. I like that.
Yes.
So I have some kind of get to know you questions if you're down for it.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so first, describe your favorite sandwich.
Oh gosh. Hmm. I'm pretty plain Jane. I'd say turkey, grilled turkey with pepper jack cheese.
That sounds
Yeah,
good. Pepper
yeah,
jack cheese is good.
yeah. With deli mustard and like deli like maybe spicy mayonnaise
That sounds
and
good.
some solid like kettle chips.
Mm.
Yeah, and maybe like a cherry slush. I don't know. Starting to get hungry. I'm gonna go grab the meat. Go grab something
Okay.
to eat.
So if you could be the best at anything, what would it be? Besides writing.
Being the best dad and father, or being the best dad and husband, father and husband I could be, for sure, because God knows I need help. like,
That's sweet. I
like
bet you are a really good dad and husband. I
I
think you.
try, but they deserve better. They deserve better.
Mm. So what's your favorite song?
Ooh, see, I love music, so if it sounds good, I like to listen to it. But so right now, I am stuck on Jonah Kagan's song, "The Roads." I think it's "The Roads," or "The Road." Let me see real quick. It's a great song. So I would say that right now, "The Roads" by Jonah Kagan. That's my
Okay.
favorite song right now. But yeah, it definitely evolves. I don't think. I mean, all time, like, yeah, I just love music. I can't decide. I mean, so many, everything from like Eminem to Pink Floyd and like Leonard Skinner are jumping into my mind right now, to Metallica. I mean, it's just like they've all got amazing sounds and songs for their own reasons.
That's very true.
Yeah.
So, what kind of workspace do you need when you write? Do you need it quiet and cozy, or
I need to be cut off, and I need it to be kind of like sterile and uncomfortable. I need to like be I can't be too comfortable because then I'll like get distracted, or like I'll want to do other stuff, and it can't be too cozy because then yeah, I'll get distracted and I'll start thinking about stuff that doesn't matter. So yeah, it's got to be very Spartan and non-distracting. Although I do have notes everywhere when I'm writing, because I take notes for ideas on like note on anything. On anything I write on, whether they're napkins or like sticky notes or like notebook paper, and then like I compile them all together, and then I like compile them all at once into my system. I'll like collect them for months at a time and then compile them into the story.
You're better than I am. I tend to have a bunch of notes everywhere in like 10 different journals, and then I forget where they all are.
Mm. Yeah, no, that's real. Yeah, that's very real. I've definitely got a dozen journals with all different ideas in them. Yeah,
I love that.
yeah.
So, finally, do you have a call to action for our viewers, a challenge of sorts?
Don't be afraid of adventure. Like it, don't be afraid to seek out what the world wants to show you so that you can find your own story and your own voice. Because life doesn't happen behind a keyboard. So I think my call to action would be if you feel called to serve, it doesn't got to be military. It could be civil or Peace Corps or anything, but there's an adventure out there waiting to be had and experienced by you that will lead you down the path that you want to be on. And I would say to keep in mind that this isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. So be willing to give yourself grace on the
Mm,
journey and manage your expectations realistically. Because it's challenging. If it were easy, everyone would do it. But finally, I would say just write. Like don't worry about perfection. Go for volume. Like you can always tweak it later, but just get it out onto the page. Because the hardest part about writing, this is a quote from Chris Carter, who wrote the X Files, but the hardest part of writing is writing. Just sitting down for 8 hours and just grinding on the keys. But so just do that
huh.
and give yourself grace and realize that's going to take a while and that sometimes your first idea isn't going to be your best idea.
Mm.
Like in reality, maybe your first idea needs to be shelved for a few years to percolate. And as you develop other ideas elsewhere and then go back to it. So never think that a project is finalized either. You can always tweak it until it's published.
I really do love that. I love everything you just said, but especially the adventure aspect. I mean,
Yeah.
because that's kind of what we're all about at Write Better Together, getting out of our bubbles and getting out of the house and
Yeah.
experiencing life.
Yeah.
So I really like
Well,
that.
and that's where you find the stories, and it's interesting because I found myself last semester. I was sitting in my niece's. It was a dance recital, and as I was sitting there, like I was just looking at I was just people watching, like, and stories for each individual person, character started being developed inside my head and like they knew each other and like they were rivals and like like when you go out you can be inspired, and that can transfer to the page. So yeah, like life doesn't happen behind the keyboard.
That is very true. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah,
And thank you very much for joining us for Writer Wednesday.
of course, Peggy Ann, thank you so much for having me. This has been awesome.
Of course. And thank you all for watching too. Please check out Tony Scardino's book and please like and subscribe and join us for Fun Friday. Thank you all very much, and we could not have done it without you.